At the party, I reached for my wife's hand, and she pulled away. Her words, "Don't let them think we're a couple." That's when I stood up, my voice steady, my heart breaking. "From this moment," I said, "we're not." Welcome to Breakup Cheater, where true stories of love, betrayal, and cold awakening unfold. Tonight's story isn't just about losing a marriage. It's about reclaiming your soul when the one you trusted most twists the knife. From this moment, we're not. The room was alive with music, laughter, and clinking glasses, but in that moment, all I could hear was the soft rustle of her dress as she shifted beside me. I reached for Emily's hand, more out of habit than anything, and she flinched as if my touch burned her. "Don't," she hissed under her breath, her lips curving into a polite smile for the group standing nearby. "Not here. Don't let them think we're a couple." The words didn't register at first. I blinked at her, the way one does when a glass shatters in a crowded room and no one else seems to notice. "What?" I whispered, my fingers frozen in midair. She didn't look at me. Her gaze stayed fixed on the people around us, her laughter suddenly louder, her hand clutching her wine glass like a lifeline. I felt something cold uncoil in my chest. Something ancient. Something final. I stood up, chair legs scraping against the polished floor, cutting through the music. Heads turned. I didn't care. My voice was steady. Too steady, the kind of calm that always precedes a storm. "From this moment," I said, each word slow, deliberate, "we're not." The drive home was silent, but my mind wasn't. Every laugh she'd shared tonight, every whisper, every lingering glance that wasn't directed at me, it all replayed in a cruel loop. I gripped the steering wheel tighter than I should have, knuckles pale. Emily sat beside me, scrolling through her phone, utterly unbothered. Not once did she ask why I said what I said. Not once did she ask if I was okay. When we reached home, she didn't wait for me. Her heels clicked across the tiles, her perfume trailing behind her like a ghost of the woman I thought I married. It wasn't always like this. We met 7 years ago at a friend's small get-together. She was the kind of woman who didn't just enter a room, she claimed it. Laughter that felt like music, a gaze that saw through your pretense, and a warmth that made you believe in something bigger than yourself. We built a life together. Late-night talks on our tiny balcony, long walks with cheap coffee, plans scribbled on sticky notes. But somewhere along the line, those sticky notes turned into schedules, those walks into obligations, and her laughter. God, her laughter. It stopped sounding like music. It became a performance. And I, apparently, became a prop. The next morning, I decided to confront her. The coffee machine hummed as I watched her glide around the kitchen, humming some tune under her breath, phone never leaving her side. "Emily," I said, leaning against the counter. "What was that last night?" She didn't look up. "What do you mean?" "You know what I mean. The party. You didn't want anyone to think we're a couple." Finally, she sighed and met my eyes. "You're overreacting. It was a work party, Daniel. People talk. I just didn't want them to make assumptions." I laughed. "I didn't mean to, it just came out." "Assumptions. We're married." "Exactly," she said, stirring her coffee. "And not everyone needs to know that." Her words landed like a slap. "Not everyone. Or someone in particular." That made her pause. Just for a second. But it was enough. I started noticing things after that. Small things, but they piled up. Late-night texts with no explanation. A sudden obsession with staying late at work. A new perfume she never wore at home. And then there was him, Ethan. I'd seen him at the party that night, standing a little too close. His eyes lingering on her in a way that made my stomach turn. I didn't know much about him, only that he was her colleague, a senior manager in her department. The kind of man who always had a story to tell, always had a hand at the small of her back when he passed by. I didn't want to be that husband, the paranoid one, the one who checked her phone or followed her car. But some nights, lying awake while she claimed to be wrapping up a project, I wondered if not knowing was worse. One evening, a week after the party, I got my answer. Her phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. She was in the shower. I glanced at the screen, just intending to silence it. Ethan. Last night was amazing. Same time tomorrow. I stared at it until the letters blurred. My hands went numb. I didn't unlock her phone. I didn't need to. That one message told me everything. That night, I didn't confront her. I didn't yell, didn't demand answers. I watched her come out of the bathroom, hair damp, cheeks flushed, humming that same damn tune. She kissed me goodnight without meeting my eyes. And I lay there, staring at the ceiling, feeling something in me fracture quietly, like a crack forming in ice. 2 days later, I decided to follow her. She told me she was working late again. I parked a block away from her office and waited. At 9:30 p.m. she emerged. Not alone. Ethan walked beside her, their hands brushing, their bodies leaning closer than colleagues ever should. They laughed like teenagers sneaking out of a house party. And then I saw it. Her hand slipping into his, fingers intertwining, just like mine had reached for hers that night. Except this time she didn't pull away. I didn't confront them. I didn't storm in. I drove home, every mile heavy with the realization that my marriage had already ended long before that party. When she came home past midnight, smelling of a perfume I'd never worn, I pretended to be asleep. The next morning I packed my bags. Not everything, just enough. My passport, a few clothes, the framed photo of my parents that always sat on my nightstand. She was in the kitchen again, scrolling through her phone, coffee in hand. "I'm leaving," I said simply. Her head snapped up. "What? Why?" "Because you made it clear," I said, meeting her gaze for the first time in weeks, "that you don't want to be seen with me. That you don't want to be my wife. Not really." She set her cup down slowly, lips parting. "Daniel, you're being dramatic." "Am I?" I pulled my phone from my pocket, showed her the picture I'd taken from the car window. Her hand in his. Her face drained of color. "Daniel, I can explain." "No," I said quietly. "You've already explained everything." The divorce wasn't explosive. It wasn't a screaming match in a lawyer's office. It was cold, clinical. She tried to apologize, of course. Half-hearted at first, then desperate when she realized I meant it. She said it was a mistake, that it didn't mean anything, that Ethan was just a phase. But phases don't rip the foundation out from under a marriage. I moved into a small apartment across town. Friends reached out, some with pity, some with awkward silence. I didn't need their sympathy. What I needed was space. Space to breathe, to stop seeing her hand pull away from mine every time I closed my eyes. Months passed. I learned how to cook for one again. Learned how to fill the evenings that used to be ours. With books, with runs along the river, with nothing at all sometimes. Emily moved in with Ethan, or so I heard. I didn't ask. I didn't want to know. One evening, I went to the same bar where we used to spend Friday nights. The bartender remembered my drink. "Haven't seen you in a while," he said, sliding the glass over. "Been busy," I replied, though what I meant was broken. Strange, the things you miss. Not the grand gestures, the anniversaries, the gifts, the vacations. It's the small things. The way she used to trace circles on my palm when we watched TV. The sound of her brushing her teeth in the next room. But you also learn with time what you don't miss. The lies. Cold distance. The way she made me feel invisible, even when I was standing right beside her. A year later I saw her again. I was at a grocery store of all places. She looked older somehow, not in the way years age you, but in the way regret does. She smiled faintly, as if we were old classmates bumping into each other. "Daniel," she said softly. "How have you been?" "Better," I said, and I meant it. She nodded. Her eyes flicked to the ringless finger on my hand, then back to the man waiting by the car outside. The same man I'd seen that night. "You look good," she said, and for the first time I realized something. Her approval no longer mattered. People ask me if I hate her. I don't. Hate would mean she still has power over me. But she doesn't. She took something from me, yes. Trust, years, pieces of myself I didn't know I was giving. But she also taught me something. That love isn't about holding on when the other person lets go. It's about knowing when to stand up in a crowded room, heartbreaking, and say, from this moment we're not. And to mean it. Betrayal doesn't always come with shouting and broken plates. Sometimes it comes with a whisper, a smile, and a hand that pulls away when you need it most. But the moment you choose yourself, that's when the healing begins. You've been listening to Breakup Cheater, where every scar tells a story. If this one stayed with you, subscribe, because some truths deserve to be heard in the dark.